Alright, welcome to today's video. We're asking the question, can we run Black Myth Wukong at 4K resolution with the 5060 Ti? This is the WindForce model and it has 16 gigabytes of VRAM. Alright, so right now we are just at low settings. So we're at 4K resolution, but everything is low and ray tracing is turned off. So our DLSS is set to DLAA basically, it's 100%. So we're just getting a nice baseline for what we can expect in the easiest settings to run at 4K. Alright, so since we're under 60, I think the best thing to do is to come over here and see what we can do with a little bit of DLSS. We're just going to switch it to 67. This is a quality setting. So let's just leave everything on low and see what that does for us. Okay, that got us way over 60. So now I feel comfortable jumping up to the next setting. We're going to try to do this thing that I call the seesaw, where you give a little and take a little to get a nice experience. Alright, so let's just take this, and since we're at a higher than 60 base resolution, I'm going to go ahead and say that we can kick this up to medium and just see what that does for us and see how much further we can go before we need to go to that next stage of DLSS. Alright, so medium looks far better than low. It brings in a lot more texture. The ground looks much more believable, and we're still over 60 FPS. So this is not a bad experience at all. Nothing wrong with medium. Again, ray tracing is off, so we're going to see some nice numbers with that ray tracing set to off than we normally would. I will have a ray tracing dedicated video. If I've done it, it will be up here. Alright, so let's go to the next setting. We've got 71 FPS, 70, high 60s more or less. So let's go to high and just see what that does. I'm expecting it to kind of get under 60, so we might need to go to that next level of DLSS. Alright, so yeah, we're definitely under 60. We're at 55 though. This is a slower paced title. You could absolutely frame generate off of this or bring in a little bit more DLSS, but I just want to work our way up to that cinematic setting before we bring in frame generation and all that kind of stuff. Alright, so we're at 55 FPS and between 55 and 60, I'll call it between 55 and 60. Alright, so let's go over here and just kind of run around. I believe there's some water down here somewhere I need to find. There it is. Alright, so let's go up to the next setting, which would be I believe it is very high is what they call it in this particular game. Yep, very high. Let's apply that and let's bring it back. Alright, so very high gets us a nice little hit. I mean, we're at 38 FPS. Definitely feeling it, so we're going to have to bring up some of that DLSS more into play. Alright, so let's just get a nice little view of the numbers here. They're going to jump around a little bit, so just under 40, right at 40. With very high settings. Alright, so let's bring in some of that DLSS. Again, we are at 4K, so going down to 50% is still upscaling from 1080. So it's still going to give us a nice, clear, sharp image, and it will be good to just play with DLSS as we need it and not just crank it all the way down to the bottom and give up a lot of visual fidelity that might otherwise look kind of nice. Alright, so we are at 50 FPS here. I'm just going to run over this bridge and then we'll go up a little bit more. I believe the next setting is the max setting, which is cinematic. So let's see what the cinematic setting does, and we will of course bring in some DLSS to alleviate whatever we do to this poor card. Alright, so that is cinematic, and that brings us down to high 40s, low 50s. That's kind of nice, honestly, considering that this card is not really meant for 4K, but this is a really nice visual experience here, and we could even bring that DLSS down a little bit more to get us a little bit more like over 60 experience. So I'm just going to head down here, get some more terrain to load in, just get a nice look at what these numbers are doing as far as our FPS is concerned. And our PCL up there is at 56 milliseconds. That will become more relevant once we bring in some of the frame generation. It will significantly impact our responsiveness. But right now it's at 60 milliseconds just because we have such a low frame rate. All right, so let's stop here and bring in some DLSS to see if we can get that over 60 and what it would take as far as DLSS is concerned. Let's go down to 33 and apply that. All right, so this will be it's a little bit, it's not as sharp. We could sharpen it a little bit, but like the character looks a bit muddy. But you know, you are playing 4K on a card that is not meant for it, so you have to kind of know where to pick your battles at, so to speak. We're just going to run around here, so we're right at 60. I mean, for the most part. In a game like this that is slow, I wouldn't hesitate to frame generate from this number, but the visual fidelity is suffering. So I would probably recommend going down to another setting, but we're just going to keep going. We're just going to see what frame gen does, just so we can answer some questions here. So let's see, let's frame generate. Where's this 2x? Okay, there we go. This is 2x frame generation, and let's confirm that. And that's going to get us up to 76 FPS, and well, 83. We're getting up there. So I know for sure that our that 4x would of course skyrocket this number even more. We would suffer some on our PCL, but let's just see what that does. So I'm just going to go straight over to 4x, just skip 3x altogether, because we kind of know that it'll be in between these two numbers. So we're at 122 FPS here. And I will say that I'm shocked quite a bit that our PCL isn't a little bit higher. Of course, this is a slower paced area. There's no enemies right now, that kind of thing. I'm not really doing too much, but I can tell right now as I really move the mouse around that there is a good bit of delay. So 81 milliseconds is what that just got up to. Sorry if I made anyone nauseated, but we're just gonna rest here so we can get some enemies to load onto the screen, and then I will kind of set things how I would recommend playing this title at 4K. So let's come over here, and I am going to go down to the high preset. Okay, let's go ahead and lock that in. So high preset, no ray tracing, of course. I'm going to bring this up to 50%, and I'm going to go 2x right now, and let's just see how that feels, because I feel like that's going to be a nice, yeah, this is a nice experience. I would absolutely play like this. There's nothing wrong in the world with this experience to me. We are at 99 FPS. Of course, that probably means that our base frame rate somewhere around 40 or so, which, you know, I don't mind frame generating off of a lower setting like that for a game that's not quite as fast paced as like a FPS or something like that. But for the most part, this feels good. Those frames really do help smooth it out, and our latency is under 50 milliseconds right now. So as I move the mouse back and forth, I can really just not ever so slightly, but I mean, you're not doing that in reality. You're not doing this all the time. That's just for like testing. So I think this would be a really nice way to play this title. I just want to see what you guys think down in the comments. If you want to see more, I mean, can you play Wukong at 4K? Yeah, if you don't worry about ray tracing, I think this is a perfectly good experience. I don't find anything wrong with it. It's nice and sharp. Again, that 50% DLSS does an excellent job making things still look nice and in focus. And you can even play with some of that sharpening, and of course that's your own personal preference. And yeah, the 2x frame generation is smoothing out all of that under 60 FPS experience with very little latency. I mean, I will say that I'm pretty shocked with the latency being what it is. Alright, so that's going to wrap this video up. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you like this video, please give me a like. If I've earned your subscription, that would make me feel really good. We're trying to get to 250 subscribers by the end of December, which is a pretty easy goal, but I just want to make sure that if you feel like you want to help me out with that, that would be awesome. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.